Hi guys, welcome back to the Tech Diary. What? That was a good illustration of something I was about to mention. This is a behind the scenes channel, so I do have if you've just found me, this isn't my main channel, this is the second channel. It's something that a lot of us YouTubers do. Some people like it, some people don't, that's fine. If you don't like it, I'd recommend going to the main channel. I've had a few comments on the previous couple of videos where people have said, stop waffling on, stop taking ages to get to the point, etc. This channel is going to be full of that, I'm afraid. If you don't like that, I will apologise now and say it's not for you. The main channel might be for you because that's more produced and a little bit scripted. We don't do proper scripts, but it is properly edited and all that sort of stuff. You'll notice in this video, there's no edits at all because it's just a behind the scene. I mean, the clue is in the name, the diary channel. It's a bit rough and ready. I do things like forgetting to unplug this camera from the charger while talking to you and yanking it off. The lighting's always horrendous. It's just a bit of a mess, but it does give you a look into what goes on in this tech channel, behind the scenes of this tech channel. And also it gives me the opportunity to talk a little bit more in depth and a little bit more loosely about products and stuff that I might have covered on the main channel and stuff that I may not have covered on the main channel, which brings me to this week's topic. That was weird. Which is this, the Honor 7 Magic. Got that wrong already. Brilliant. On the main channel, that would have been an edit. I would have stopped and started again. The Honor Magic7 Pro, which is Honor's latest flagship smartphone. It was launched last week in Europe. It was launched in China last year, but it was launched in Europe last week in Slovenia. And I was there. We went skiing. No, we didn't go skiing. We went sledging. That's very different. But we did lots of kind of activities that helped us get some really good examples of what this camera can do in very, very challenging conditions in terms of the cold, obviously, but also just beautiful conditions. We went to Lake Bled, which you can see some footage of it here. It's just stunning. I don't know why Slovenia was never on my list of places to go, but it wasn't, and it should have been, because it was beautiful. I can see why a lot of press trips that kind of go to that area, because it's just wonderful. So it was a very good idea to hold it there, and like I say, we had some really good hands-on time with this. Now, a little bit of history with Honor and myself on the main channel. It performs very well in terms of content. It brings in a pretty big audience. We've covered most of their launches for the last 2 years, I think. And they've all been really good devices. You can't really pick fault with them. Apart, like every smartphone, I'll come on to this in a moment. Like every smartphone, there are a few little things here and there that aren't the best. But it's all about pros and cons, and you pick the right phone for you, don't you? But overall, in terms of the build quality, the camera performance, the choice of the chip they put into these phones, and everything else, really, they get it spot on, and people really seem to like Honor devices. I get lots of very positive comments, so I enjoy covering them. That's why it was a little bit frustrating that this never made the main channel, and the reason it didn't make the main channel is because I got it a bit too late, which sounds a bit odd because I've just said that I went to Slovenia during the launch and had access to it. That's exactly what happened, but due to just a few issues with device availability and that sort of stuff, no one's fault. This kind of thing happens occasionally in this game. Again, this gives you an idea of what goes on behind the scenes. I didn't have this after the trip, basically. It arrived about 3 days after I got home. The problem with that, because I'm filming this on, what is it, Tuesday, what is the date? Why can't my Apple Watch just tell me the date? Tuesday, the 21st of January, which is a day before Unpacked. It's a day before Samsung Unpacked. So basically, this week is Samsung week, and we've got videos planned, we've got stuff planned, and the schedule. And this is for the main channel, obviously. The main channel is very tightly organised, and we can't really just move things around to fit stuff in, or very rarely anyway, partly because doing that doesn't work. If I feature the Honor Magic 7 Pro now on the channel, it won't get the audience it needs to get, because Samsung is now the main topic. And equally, we just don't have the time to make that video. Whereas if I'd had this phone when I got back from Slovenia, I would have done, and we'd have had it on the channel by Monday. But I still wanted to feature it somewhere because it deserves some recognition and some airtime. So hopefully this video gets out there. This channel doesn't have the same reach as the main channel, but who knows, maybe if you share it with your mates and hit that subscribe button and the like button, etc., maybe we'll get some reach on this. Again, it's just one of those things. It's frustrating. It won't happen again. We're going to make sure this doesn't happen again, because Honor devices need to be in the public domain as much as possible, because this is a really good phone. I mean, firstly, look at it. It looks lovely. We have got some B-roll, I think, some product footage from Slovenia, which we can show you now. But it's a lovely looking phone. It's packing the Snapdragon, I nearly got that wrong, the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, which is Snapdragon's latest flagship silicon, which is great. And I think there's one storage option, which is 512 gig and 12 gig of RAM. But it's wonderful. I keep saying this, it's great, and it really is great. It's a really good phone. In terms of performance, it's fantastic. The camera system is interesting because it leads with AI. Like every phone these days, AI is the big thing. And it kind of aids with things like zooming in beyond 20x, I think it is. It starts to use the AI stuff to do that. That you get hit and miss results with that, really. And this comes onto the things which, you do have to kind of, all the greatness about smartphones these days, you do have to counter with the fact that they do rely a lot on AI. And in particular, when you start zooming way beyond the optical focal lengths, the results can be a bit hit and miss. You can see some examples of this from Slovenia. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's a bit watercolor painting-y. But forgetting that, the main camera system, taking just normal photos with this thing, it produces really good results. The only thing that annoys me slightly with it is that if you've got the sun behind the subject and you're shooting at the 1x, the main focal length, it creates this kind of starry effect around the sun, which is AI generated. That's not real. That is generated by AI. You can't turn it off. I wish you could. It looks quite cool in certain circumstances, but in others it's just a bit annoying, and it would just be nice to turn that off. Regardless of that, the camera performance is very good. The biggest selling point of this phone, though, I think, is the portrait. So Honor have teamed up with Hardcore, which is, I don't know who it is. It's some kind of very smart camera photography thing. I should know this. I do know this, but it's quite early, as you can probably tell from my voice. I can't remember what it is, but I think it's French, and it's just a very clever portrait thing for photography. And remember what I said about this channel. And it produces, I think, possibly, do I claim this here and now? I think it produces the best portrait photos I've seen on a phone so far. Again, we've got some examples here that you can see from Slovenia. They are just really, really nice. And these are just straight out the camera. There's no faffing around with them. You can choose different types of hardcore portrait to use, but they do look really nice, I think. And it's the selling point of this phone, I think. I think, and what's nice about that is that it's a feature people will actually use and then enjoy afterwards. If you take a lovely portrait of your child or your dog or your loved one or your dad or your mum, whatever, you're going to enjoy that photo. Whereas a 30x zoom of a building miles away is marginally impressive, but you'll probably never use that photo ever again. So as I've said this year, I'm all for smartphone features that actually matter and that can do something in your life and change something in your life. I think the portrait mode in this is one of those features. So that is the Honor Magic7 Pro. That is my very quick review of it. We do have a more in-depth review on the website, which we'll put a link to in the description of this video. But it's a great phone, and I promise this won't happen again. We will get these phones and the Honor devices, because I think there's some interesting stuff coming from Honor this year on the main channel. I promise. The other thing I just wanted to say about smartphones is that I've talked about this in the newsletter. So if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, there's a link down below. It's completely free. This video is in that newsletter, but I often write about it as well. But I mentioned in that newsletter this week that smartphone reviews are becoming harder and harder to do. And I think the reason for that is because they are all basically really good. If you spend above 500, 600 quid, dollars, whatever, on a smartphone, it's going to be really good. They're all the same, really. They all do the same stuff. They've all got chips which kind of, do as well as each other in benchmarks. They've got camera systems which sometimes do have one thing within them that makes them brilliant in the case of the Honor Magic7 Pro. But again, taking photos generally, they do the same stuff. They just look a bit different, although you can shoot all of them in RAW. You can create a RAW photo and make it look as you want to. It just makes, excuse me, it makes reviewing these phones quite tricky. And I've kind of set my goal for the year to be one of making my own smartphone reviews just focus on the one or two things that the manufacturer thinks is a differentiator. But the problem is that the differentiator is becoming tougher to suss out. So for instance, at the Honor press conference, we had some time with one of the execs from China, and he was taking questions, and the question I asked was, what is the one thing on this camera system which sets it apart from the competition in 2025? And he said AI, and he'd said AI a lot in his answers to people's questions, and you can't really fault the guy for that, because that is kind of the thing which, it's not a differentiator, I'm afraid, but it's the thing that all these manufacturers are focusing on. And it's their competition, it's their point of, it's their way of kind of battling against what's going on elsewhere. The net result of that, like I say, is that we just have these phones which are all really good, really, really good. And it's a lovely problem to have, because if you're a consumer, the choice you've got is almost overwhelming, but you can't really make a bad decision. So if you're considering between, let's say, this and, I don't know, the Vivo X200 Pro, whichever one you buy, you're going to be really happy with. The X200 Pro arguably has the best camera system overall. It's really good. But forgetting that, if you bought this, you'd be happy with it, and if you bought the Vivo, you'd be happy with it as well. So that's kind of where we are with smartphones, guys. It's a tricky one. Anyway, that's my ramble for the day. That's my tech diary ramble for the day. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a like, because it does make a big difference. And if you can, just hit the subscribe button wherever it is these days. It makes a big difference to this channel. We have big plans for this channel, actually. There's lots of things we want to do with it. It's always going to be rough and ready like this. Like I say, if this isn't for you, I completely understand. There is my main channel if you want to go and check that out. That may not be for you either, but it doesn't matter. No hard feelings. But yeah, this is how these videos will play out. But yeah, if you are enjoying them, thank you. You give us the reason to keep doing this stuff. So, and on that note, rather, I will catch you in the next video, which will obviously be next week. This is a weekly thing as well. We've finally got it weekly. We've got some sort of cadence going. It's amazing. Anyway, cheers, guys. Catch you next week.